Excuse the interruption, but I'm Quentin Sears. Kristin, the vote is just in, and you were selected to the All-State team. Were you expecting it, or did it take you by surprise?
I'm Christian Quovang. It caught me totally by surprise. It was the last thing I was expecting. I mean, it is so humbling to know that all the sports writers in the state think you're one of the best players in the state. It's with the utmost humility that I accept this award.
If it's making you so humble, does that mean I don't have to carry your books and clip your toenails anymore?
It means exactly that, Quentin. Austin, get over here with those toenail clippers. Welcome to another edition of ETI, boys and girls. On this episode, we have Report Card, Good Cop, Bad Cop, and Mail Time. But as always, we'll start off with headlines. Quentin, did you feel Dunseith losing to St. John in the district tournament was an upset?
You know, Christian, I didn't really think so. I mean, Dunseith was dominant all season in district play, and St. John had their struggles, but we both know that St. John's a sleeper team, and I didn't feel like it was an upset. They just outplayed Dunseith, and Dunseith went cold.
For once in our lives, I'm going to have to agree with you. Basketball is a silly sport where you play really well in the regular season. You might not play very well come tournament time. You know, you have March Madness in college. In high school, it's called February Frenzy. And St. John really put everyone in a frenzy with that game.
They sure did. Christian, what did you think about the girls' regional championship?
Well, our girls team went in with the mindset that we were going to stop Fallon Frigi, and we were going to let everyone else get their points. We held Fallon Frigi to 47 points that game.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty solid performance on our part. But I think I thought we had a chance going into that game, but it's really hard to play when you're not getting any of the calls down low, and I felt like we were just outgunned and outmanned.
I felt we lost the game right in the first quarter. Frigi just dominated, and there's no stopping her when she's on a roll.
Yeah, very, very true. Quentin, you still taking the boys' regional loss pretty hard?
You know, Christian, I am. This weekend I went to the state tournament and watched that, and that helped a little, but it would have been 100 times better to be playing there.
Quentin, for you to say that it helped to watch the state tournament really makes me question your commitment to the sport of basketball, but me going to watch that tournament, it hurt even worse. Losing that game right away, you don't really feel like it's the end of your high school basketball career because you feel like there's always going to be more. But watching the state championship game from the bleachers and just really soaks in that it's over. We're done with. Bye-bye.
That's right, partner. You know, Christian, even though we lost in the regional championship game, we would have never got there if you wouldn't have had that outstanding third quarter against Harvey in the semifinals.
It means so much that you tell me something like that, Quentin. Thank you. That third quarter against Harvey, the first half, I felt like we were playing sluggish, really. Like we weren't really attacking on the defensive end. We weren't attacking on the offensive end. We were more settling for jump shots, and we really just needed something to really spark us and get us going. And once we get going, we're one of the most dangerous teams in the state. Quentin, what was your take on the state tournament this weekend?
You know, Christian, I wasn't surprised that rugby won it all, but the other 7 teams really messed with my mind. Coming into the tournament, I thought New England was supposed to be pretty good because they even got a seed, but they ended up with 8th place and didn't impress me at all. A team that really did impress me was Lemoore. I did not know they had a team like that.
Lemoore had really good athletes that nobody really knew about, especially because they're coming out of Region 3 where there isn't much media that'll really bring it out there for you. New England was a very shocking team to me because going in 22-2 and end up taking 8th place, they were my pick to win it at the beginning, but that really didn't work out for me. 4 wins surprised me too. I mean, they could play so much better, but they just really laid an egg at that state tournament. That's it for headlines. We'll take a quick break, and coming up next, we'll have Good Cop, Bad Cop. Welcome to the precinct, boys and girls. I'm Officer Quovang along with Officer Murchie. Let's take the first case. Macy Quovang started to move to an outside game towards the end of the season. Do you agree with this strategy?
I agree with this strategy. She started hitting three-pointers at the end of the season, hitting over 42%. So I think this is a good strategy, and it'll make her a threat both inside and outside.
I couldn't disagree more with your point right there. Macy's a 6'5" girl playing the sport of high school basketball. If you're 6'5" and have any kind of coordination in that kind of sport, you should be able to dominate every single play of the game on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. If she wants to make an impact in the state, she should stick to her inside game. Was Hannah Stewart deserving of Miss Basketball?
I think she was deserving. Fallon was her top contender, and Hannah still puts up good points, but her defensive game is really strong.
I'll have to disagree with you on that one. Although Hannah Stewart is a much better defender than Freegie's offensive arsenal is just one that can't be really matched in girls basketball. She's able to go inside, she can hit the outside jumper, and she can pull up from mid-range. There's not many girls that can match up with that. Was Alex deserving of all district this year?
I'll be the bad cop and say that he shouldn't have gotten it. I just thought that with playing no games this season and having no stats on the season, I just don't see why he would get on the team.
With this one, I'm going to have to say he should have made all district just because if he would have played this year, he definitely would have gotten the award. His award said coach's choice, and I completely agree with it. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll be joined by Austin States for Mail Time. Welcome back, and now it's time for
Mail Time!
ND Potato Man writes, if Riley Legacy falls in a forest, does it make a sound?
You know, there's an old saying out there that asks, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? In a tree's case, I don't think it will make a sound because no one's around to really hear it. But in Riley Legacy's case, I feel like he's too chaotic and spazzy not to make a sound. If you see that kid in the basketball court, he's flying absolutely everywhere. Packers 20 writes, which basketball team will have more of a drop-off next year, girls or boys?
Well, I'm going to say that the boys are going to drop off more. You, Quentin, Matthew are going to be hard to replace considering you're all starters, while the girls are only losing one starter, which is Sarah. Roning Rolanda asks, do you think the light show that Langdon puts on for the district championship is a bit too much?
I honestly feel like a light show at the district championship is a little bit too much. I mean, making it in the top 4 of district means you just advance to regionals, which is another 3 games. So it's not really that big of a deal. Maybe a light show for the region championship is more appropriate, but definitely not districts. Time for another break so we can set up for Fortune Teller with Austin. Simsalabim and open sesame. It's Fortune Teller, boys and girls. Let's take the first call.
Hi, guys. Do you foresee Quentin Sears improving on his state track results from last year?
Quentin took 6th place last year in the triple jump and the high jump, so for him to place any lower than those two, I think would be a big downgrade in his track career. Let's take the next call.
Hi, Kristin. Will any of this year's seniors make meaningful contributions for their colleges next year?
I see Alex being successful at playing basketball in Lake Region, while you playing in Jamestown will get quality time. Sarah will also have an impact playing volleyball at MSUN.
The next call.
Hi, guys. What's up? Do you foresee Jaden Komrowski making All-State in football or basketball next year?
I think it'll be tough for Jaden to get All-State the next 2 years in football because I don't see any receivers that he'll be able to throw to. Last season, he had me and Alex, who are both very tall targets. I think he'll have a better chance of making All-State in basketball just because it'll be the Jaden and Johnny show for the most part. So basketball, I think, will be the better option for him. I promise this will be our last break, and coming up next, we'll have report card. It's time now for a report card. Kristin, what's the first item?
Thanks, guys. For your first question, what do you think of the boys' basketball season?
I would say the boys, they had a pretty impressive season this year considering all the losses that they had to overcome. We lost a few players going into the year that were supposed to really put us over the top, especially losing Alex, an all-state caliber player, to his ACL injury, which I feel like would have put us in contention for the state championship game. We already were without him, but I think it was just very impressive for our boys to make it back to the regional final considering everything that happened to them this year. I'll give them a B+.
Christian, I completely agree with you. Being this was my first year here and coming from a not-so-winning program, I thought it was an outstanding season. Coming off of last year, I knew we would have high expectations, and I feel like we almost completely filled those, but not completely. So I'll give us a B.
Next, what do you think about the girls' basketball season?
The girls were really up and down this year. I mean, one game that could beat anybody in the state where they were almost contending with Bishop Ryan at one point. I wouldn't go quite that far, but it's a push. But then one night they would completely lay an egg and lose by 30 to Rugby. They did shoot pretty well, but still, you're giving them wide open jump shots. You're not making those. Shouldn't be playing the game. But our girls, for the most part, they were pretty good. They gave Lakota a decent run in the championship game. I would have liked to see them give a little better effort, but it'll set us up for a pretty decent future, so I'll give them a B.
Christian, I agree with you. The girls had a very streaky season where some nights they could compete with, I'd say, the top 2 or 3 teams in the state, and then other nights you're losing to Rugby by 30 points. But like you said, they showed that next year could be a very promising season, so I'll give them a B+.
Finally, what about the underclassmen this year?
The underclassmen, I'll speak on Jaden and Johnny's behalf. They were pretty good this season. Like, there were some games where they were really good. They stood out to everybody. Like the Grafton game, they both really showed up. And then there were other games where you wondered where they were, like if they were out there, like the first half of 4 wins in the regional final. But they didn't quite live up to the expectations that everyone has set out for them. They still have a lot of time to go. They're only sophomores. So I'll give them a C.
Christian, I'll speak on behalf of the underclassmen girls. I thought this year, Peyton, Macy, and Stephanie really showed the potential that they have. And looking into the next 2 years, I think the girls can have a very promising season with the underclassmen that they have. I'll give them a B-.
Well, I think you're both pretty lenient. No wonder everyone gets on the honor roll these days. I'll give you both a C-.
Thank you, Kristin. And now it's time for the big finish.
Happy trails to Alex Weston. 1 year ago this month, you were the talk of Class B boys basketball when you shot down 4 wins with the 2 most incredibly clutch shots imaginable. After sitting out the entire 14-15 season with an ACL tear, now no one even remembers your name besides your girlfriend.
Happy trails to Kyle Dunnigan and Lauren Howard. 13 years ago, you made this state-of-the-art edition of SportsCenter. It looks amazing. But the real reason we're watching this video is to say happy trails to Mr. Vogt, who took this 2-foot shot and missed it by 15 feet. I've shot some air balls in my day, but this was an ionosphere ball.
Happy trails as well to Sarah Hagler, who decided to forego her last edition of ETI in order to spend some time in Arizona this week. You can't tell me that 20 years from now, you won't look back at this decision and consider it one of your biggest mistakes.
And a big happy birthday shout out to Mr. Hagler. Mr. Hagler is the head coach of the boys basketball team, and he's racked up quite a bit of wins in his career. You don't look over a day over 25. That's it for this episode. We'll try and do better next time. Good night, knuckleheads.
Good night, Can Do.